Austria looks like a peaceful European paradise, but behind its stunning Alps and imperial palaces lies a country full of surprising realities. From life in Vienna and impressive public services to unusual traditions and a powerful imperial past, here are the things about Austria that may truly shock you. Austria 2026, a small country at the heart of Europe. Welcome to Austria, a country that may seem small on the map, but has played an enormous role in European history, culture, and politics. Located in the heart of Central Europe, Austria is a landlocked nation covering nearly 84,000 square kilometers. It shares borders with 8 countries: Germany, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, Slovenia, Italy, Switzerland, and Liechtenstein. This strategic location has made Austria a natural crossroads between Western and Eastern Europe for centuries. As of January 1st, 2026, Austria had 9,215,956 residents, according to final data from Statistics Austria, and preliminary figures showed the population rising to 9,220,882 by April 1st. Interestingly, population growth has slowed in recent years, making demographic change another important story behind modern Austria. Geographically, Austria is best known for the Alps, which shape much of its spectacular landscape and influence everything from tourism to everyday life. Snow-covered mountains, green valleys, forests, rivers, and clear alpine lakes create scenery that looks almost unreal. The Danube River also crosses the country, connecting Austria with several other parts of Europe. But Austria is much more than beautiful mountains. It is a modern European nation where imperial palaces stand beside efficient public transportation. Historic traditions exist alongside multicultural communities, and some of the continent's most famous music, architecture, and cultural landmarks can be found within a relatively small territory. From Vienna in the east to the dramatic Alpine regions in the west, Austria is a country full of contrasts, and as we explore it, you may discover that life here is far more surprising than the postcards suggest. Vienna, the capital and its population. At the heart of modern Austria stands Vienna, the country's capital, largest city, and political and cultural center. Located in northeastern Austria along the Danube River, Vienna is remarkably close to the borders of Slovakia, Hungary, and the Czech Republic. In fact, Bratislava, the capital of Slovakia, is only about 55 kilometers or 34 miles away, making Vienna and Bratislava two of the closest national capitals in Europe. Today, Vienna is home to more than 2 million residents, meaning that roughly 1 out of every 5 people living in Austria calls the capital home. But Vienna is no longer simply an old imperial city populated by people with similar backgrounds. It has developed into an increasingly international metropolis, shaped by generations of migration and communities with roots across Europe and beyond. The city is divided into 23 districts, each offering a different side of Vienna. The historic center is filled with monumental architecture, elegant boulevards, churches, museums, and former imperial buildings, while neighborhoods farther from the center reveal a more ordinary picture of daily life, with apartment complexes, local markets, parks, schools, and multicultural communities. What makes Vienna particularly fascinating is the contrast between its enormous historical importance and its relatively relaxed atmosphere. This was once the center of a vast empire, yet today you can travel across much of the city using an extensive network of subways, trams, and buses. Behind the grand palaces and postcard-perfect streets is a living, changing capital where millions of daily routines unfold. And perhaps that is the first thing many visitors misunderstand about Vienna. This is not simply an open-air museum preserving the past. It is a growing European capital where imperial history and 21st century life exist side by side. Austria's cities, Alpine landscape, and passion for football. Beyond Vienna, Austria is home to several distinctive cities that reveal completely different sides of the country. Graz, the capital of Styria, combines a beautifully preserved historic center with a youthful university atmosphere. Salzburg is internationally famous as the birthplace of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart and for its spectacular setting near the Alps, while Innsbruck, surrounded by towering mountain peaks in Tyrol, has become synonymous with skiing and winter sports. Linz, located along the Danube, represents another side of modern Austria, with a strong industrial heritage and a growing cultural and technology scene. But geography is what truly defines this country. The Alps cover almost two-thirds of Austria, according to the country's official tourism organization. This mountainous terrain has shaped everything from traditional villages and transportation routes to tourism and the Austrian way of life. In winter, the mountains become major destinations for skiing and snowboarding. In summer, they attract hikers, cyclists, and nature lovers. And when Austrians are not watching winter sports, football holds a special place in the national sporting culture. In 2026, Austria returned to the FIFA World Cup for the first time since 1998, marking its 8th appearance in the tournament. The national team reached the round of 32 before being eliminated by Spain. Historically, Austria's greatest World Cup achievement remains its third-place finish in 1954. So whether you are walking through an elegant historic city, standing beneath an alpine peak, or experiencing the atmosphere surrounding a major football match, Austria offers a fascinating combination of urban culture, dramatic geography, and sporting passion. Vienna and its remarkable quality of life. Vienna is not only Austria's political and cultural heart, it has also built a global reputation as one of the best cities in the world to live in. In the Economist Intelligence Unit's 2026 Global Livability Index, Vienna ranked second among 173 cities worldwide, just behind Copenhagen. The Austrian capital scored especially well in areas such as stability, healthcare, education, and infrastructure, continuing a remarkable record after holding the #1 position for 3 consecutive years. Mercer's most recent published quality of living ranking also placed Vienna second globally in 2024. But rankings alone do not explain what makes life here so attractive. Vienna combines the advantages of a major European capital with an unusually comfortable urban environment. Residents have access to an extensive public transportation network, healthcare and education systems, reliable public services, parks, cultural institutions, and large areas of green space. The city is also known for its municipal and subsidized housing tradition, which has helped shape Vienna's approach to urban living for generations. Of course, Vienna is not perfect. Like other growing European capitals, it faces challenges involving housing demand, rising costs, population growth, and the pressures that come with maintaining public infrastructure. Yet the contrast remains striking. This is a city of more than 2 million people, where imperial palaces, modern neighborhoods, public parks, trams, and everyday residential life coexist within the same urban landscape. For many visitors, the real surprise is that Vienna's quality of life is not based on a single spectacular attraction. It comes from thousands of ordinary details working together, from transportation and clean water to public spaces, healthcare, education, and a sense of stability. And that may explain why Vienna continues to remain near the very top of global quality of life rankings. Austria's history and the powerful Habsburg dynasty. To understand Austria today, you have to look back at a remarkable imperial past. For centuries, the country stood at the center of European power, largely because of one extraordinary royal family, the Habsburgs. Their influence began expanding in Austria during the late 13th century, and over the generations, the dynasty built a vast network of territories through warfare, diplomacy, inheritance, and strategic marriages. A famous saying captured their approach: "Let others wage war. You, happy Austria, marry." At the height of Habsburg influence, members of the dynasty ruled lands stretching across large parts of Central and Eastern Europe and beyond. Vienna became an imperial capital, filled with magnificent palaces, churches, government buildings, and cultural institutions. The Hofburg served as the center of Habsburg power for centuries, while Schönbrunn Palace later became one of the dynasty's most recognizable imperial residences. One of the most famous Habsburg rulers was Empress Maria Theresa, who reigned from 1740 to 1780 and introduced significant administrative and educational reforms. Later, Emperor Franz Joseph I ruled for nearly 68 years, from 1848 until 1916, becoming one of the defining figures of the Austro-Hungarian era. But the empire could not survive the enormous political changes of the early 20th century. Following Austria-Hungary's defeat in World War I, the Habsburg monarchy collapsed in 1918, bringing centuries of dynastic rule to an end. Today, Austria is a democratic federal republic, but the Habsburg legacy remains impossible to miss. Walk through central Vienna, and history appears almost everywhere. From imperial palaces and grand boulevards to museums housing treasures once collected by one of Europe's most powerful ruling families. Austria's economy, income, and famous global brands. Behind Austria's postcard-perfect mountains and imperial palaces is a highly developed European economy built on industry, services, tourism, technology, and international trade. According to Statistics Austria, the country's GDP reached approximately 514.3 billion euros in 2025. After a difficult economic period, the economy showed modest improvement in early 2026, with GDP growing 0.2% in the first quarter compared with the previous quarter. In its June 2026 forecast, the Austrian National Bank expected real economic growth of about 0.6% for the full year, while inflation was projected at 3.2%. Income levels in Austria are relatively high by European standards, although actual earnings vary significantly depending on profession, region, experience, and whether salaries are measured before or after taxes. Austria is also known for collective labor agreements, and many employees traditionally receive 14 salary payments per year, with additional payments often associated with summer vacations and Christmas, depending on the applicable employment agreement. Austria's global business influence may also surprise visitors. The country is the birthplace of Red Bull, one of the world's most recognizable energy drink brands. Swarovski, founded in Tyrol in 1895, became internationally famous for crystal products, while companies such as KTM, Voestalpine, and technology group Ems, Osram demonstrate Austria's strength in manufacturing, engineering, and specialized industries. So, while tourism may be Austria's most visible face, the real economy is far more diverse. Behind the Alpine scenery is an export-oriented nation producing everything from advanced industrial materials and machinery to luxury crystals and globally recognized consumer brands. Everyday life and the architecture of Vienna. Walking through Vienna can sometimes feel like moving between two completely different worlds. One moment, you are surrounded by monumental imperial buildings, Baroque churches, and elegant 19th century facades. A few streets later, you may find modern apartments, busy shopping areas, neighborhood markets, cafes, and residents simply going about their daily routines. This contrast between extraordinary history and ordinary life is one of Vienna's greatest attractions. Daily life here often moves at a calmer rhythm than visitors might expect from a European capital of more than 2 million people. Public transportation is deeply integrated into everyday routines, while walking and cycling are common ways to navigate many neighborhoods. Vienna is also famous for its traditional coffeehouse culture, where people can spend considerable time talking, reading, or simply watching city life unfold. On Sundays, many shops remain closed because of Austria's opening hours rules, giving parts of the city a noticeably quieter atmosphere. But architecture is where Vienna truly becomes spectacular. The historic center was inscribed on UNESCO's World Heritage List in 2001, reflecting centuries of architectural development. Around the famous Ringstrasse, visitors encounter monumental buildings representing styles ranging from neo-Gothic to neo-Renaissance and classical influences. Elsewhere, Baroque landmarks, Art Nouveau architecture, imperial residences, and contemporary projects reveal different chapters of the city's evolution. Yet Vienna is not preserved like a museum. People live, work, study, commute, and raise families among these historic surroundings. Trams pass grand facades. Local residents shop near centuries-old buildings, and modern urban life continues beneath the shadow of former imperial landmarks. Perhaps that is Vienna's real architectural magic. History is not hidden behind walls. It remains part of everyday life. The Austrian Parliament and Vienna City Hall. Along Vienna's famous Ringstrasse stand two monumental buildings that tell very different stories about Austrian public life: the Austrian Parliament Building and Vienna City Hall. The Parliament is the heart of federal democracy, while City Hall serves as the headquarters of Vienna's municipal government. The Austrian Parliament was designed by Danish-born architect Theophil Hansen, who was commissioned in 1869. Inspired by ancient Greek architecture and the historical origins of democracy, Hansen created a building filled with classical columns, statues, and symbolic details. Construction began in 1874, and the first sitting of the House of Deputies took place there in 1883. Today, the building is perhaps most recognizable for the Palace Athena fountain, standing prominently in front. After an extensive modernization, the renovated Parliament officially reopened in January 2023, combining its historic architecture with new public spaces and modern facilities. Not far away stands Vienna City Hall, or the Rathaus, another spectacular landmark of the Ringstrasse era. Designed by architect Friedrich Schmidt and constructed between 1872 and 1883, the building was created in a striking neo-Gothic style, with its soaring central tower recalling the great Gothic traditions of medieval Europe. But this is not simply a historic monument. More than 2,000 people work inside Vienna City Hall today, and the building remains the center of the city's municipal administration. Its grand ceremonial rooms also host public events, concerts, press conferences, and traditional balls. Together, Parliament and City Hall demonstrate something remarkable about Vienna. Some of its most impressive architectural landmarks are not frozen in the past. More than a century after they were built, they remain active centers of Austrian political and civic life. Vienna's historic horse-drawn carriage culture. Few sounds capture old Vienna quite like the steady rhythm of horses' hooves moving across the streets of the historic center. Known locally as fiacre, Vienna's traditional horse-drawn carriages have become one of the city's most recognizable cultural symbols. Today, visitors can still see them waiting near famous landmarks before carrying passengers past imperial palaces, churches, and elegant streets that once formed the heart of the Habsburg capital. But the fiacre are more than a tourist attraction. Their history is closely connected to Vienna's development as an imperial city, when horse-drawn vehicles were an essential form of transportation. Modern carriages now operate in a completely different world, sharing the streets with cars, bicycles, buses, and trams. Yet, they preserve a visible connection to the city's past. Operating a fiacre business in Vienna is regulated. Companies require official authorization, while drivers must meet professional requirements and demonstrate knowledge of traffic rules, horse care, animal welfare, and Vienna's major landmarks. Horses used for carriage work must also undergo veterinary health assessments that are renewed annually, and authorities conduct checks on their health and living conditions. The tradition has also become part of an ongoing public discussion about tourism, animal welfare, and how historic customs should adapt to modern urban life. For visitors, however, the sight of a fiacre passing the Hofburg remains one of Vienna's most distinctive images. A centuries-old tradition continuing through the streets of a 21st century European capital. Free drinking water and public amenities in Vienna. One of the small details that can surprise visitors in Vienna is something most people use every day without thinking about it: water. The city is famous for its high-quality drinking water, much of which comes from protected spring areas in the Alps. Instead of relying mainly on extensive pumping systems, Vienna's spring water travels to the city largely through gravity via two major mountain spring pipelines, a remarkable infrastructure system with roots stretching back more than a century. For visitors exploring the city, this quality water is not limited to homes and restaurants. Vienna provides more than 1,500 public drinking fountains across the city, allowing people to refill bottles with fresh water free of charge. During the warmer months, additional mobile drinking fountains are also placed in busy public areas. It is a simple public service, but on a hot summer day, it can make a noticeable difference. And water is only part of Vienna's public infrastructure. The city maintains an extensive network of parks, playgrounds, public transportation, waste management services, and public restrooms. Vienna also operates around 1,000 public toilet facilities, although access conditions and fees can vary by location. What makes these amenities interesting is how naturally they blend into everyday urban life. A visitor can walk through a historic district, refill a water bottle, rest in a public park, and continue traveling by tram or subway without needing a car. These may sound like ordinary conveniences, but together they reveal an important side of Vienna. The city's international reputation is built not only on imperial palaces and famous museums, but also on practical infrastructure designed to make daily life more comfortable for millions of residents and visitors. Vienna's impressive public transportation system. One reason daily life in Vienna can feel surprisingly convenient is its extensive public transportation system. For many residents, owning a car is not essential. The city is connected by a dense network of subways, trams, and buses operated primarily by Wiener Linien, allowing passengers to move between the historic center and residential neighborhoods with relative ease. Vienna's U-Bahn system currently consists of 5 lines: U1, U2, U3, U4, and U6. Together with one of the world's largest tram networks and an extensive bus system, these services form the backbone of everyday transportation in the Austrian capital. According to Wiener Linien, its network includes more than 160 lines and approximately 5,700 public transport stops. On a typical weekday, around 2.4 million passengers travel with Wiener Linien, showing just how deeply public transit is integrated into city life. The system also has an interesting feature for weekend nightlife. On nights before Saturdays, Sundays, and public holidays, Vienna's subway lines operate throughout the night at roughly 15-minute intervals. Night buses provide additional connections, meaning that many people can return home without relying entirely on private cars. And Vienna's transportation network is still evolving. One of the city's biggest infrastructure projects is the expansion involving the U2 and the future U5 line, which is designed to increase capacity and improve connections across the city. For visitors, the experience can be remarkably simple. One integrated network connects subway trains, trams, and buses across Vienna. But the real significance goes beyond convenience. Reliable public transportation reduces dependence on cars and helps explain how a city of more than 2 million residents can remain highly accessible. In Vienna, public transit is not merely a backup option. For millions of journeys, it is simply part of everyday life. Austria is a country where imperial history, breathtaking Alpine landscapes, and modern city life come together in fascinating ways. If you enjoyed discovering life in Austria, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with your friends. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on our next journey.